Hello class! Welcome to today's lesson. Today we will be learning about folk tales. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify features of folk tales, retell folk tales, explain the themes for folk tales, and identify the moral lesson to be learnt from folk tales and narrate folk tales. Kids, are you ready? Let's begin. Every culture has its own folklore. Kids, do you know any from your parents or grandparents? Well, a folk tale is a traditional story or legend that's common to a specific culture and often passed along orally. Folk tales often contain a lesson to be learnt. Examples are 1. Boastful Dog and the Frog. 2. The Dog and the Hare. 3. The Greedy Girl and the Eagle, etc., etc. Now, let's learn about features of a folk tale. Folk tales have many features. 1. Folk tales are didactic. A story that is didactic is intended to teach people a moral lesson. 2. Folk tales are entertaining. One of the purposes of folk tales is to amuse or interest people. This is why in rural areas, when there is moonlight, grandparents and parents tell their children folk tales. 3. Folk tales are magical. Folk tales can also be magical, that is, they can be enjoyable and exciting in strange ways. Characters in such stories have magical powers that make them to do impossible things. So, what are the central ideas behind these folk tales? These central ideas are called themes, and they depend on what the author is trying to convey to the reader, or what the storyteller is trying to pass across to the listener. Generally, the theme for folk tales could be about love, hatred, joy, sorrow, teaching some moral lessons, comparing good and evil, etc., etc. Now that we have an understanding of what a folk tale is, let's read a short folk tale and identify moral lessons to be learned from it. The short folk tale is titled The Greedy Girl and the Eagle, Gold from Gabgi Folktales by Hawa Imam. This is a story about a girl who wanted to marry only a rich man. She refused all suitors that came to marry her because they were not rich. One day she met a rich stranger and fell in love with him. The parents tried to dissuade her, but she refused to listen. She did not know that the stranger was an eagle. She ran away with him, and on one day the stranger turned into an eagle. She realized then that her husband was an eagle, but greed made her stay. She thought of all the presents her husband was giving her. Kids, what do you think happened to the girl at the end of the story? Did she escape? Was she trapped forever? Well, she escaped in the end, but was full of regrets. What moral lesson did you learn from the folk tale? I would say 1. One should not be greedy, and 2. It is good to obey our parents. Kids, can you think of another moral lesson? Well, with these we've come to the end of the lesson. In conclusion, we have learned what folk tales are, features and themes of folk tales. In addition, we also identified some moral lessons from a short folk tale. See you in the next lesson.